Hey guys, today's video is going to pick up where the last video left off with that 2016 Ford Fusion hood that I picked up at that junkyard. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, there will be a video link in your top corner. You can go ahead and watch that and catch up on what's happening. Essentially, I bought a hood that we're going to use as a test hood or a detailing practice hood. Whatever you want to call it, lots of different names for that. Essentially, it'll let me benchmark all kinds of waxes and sealants. We may try coatings on it, as well as processes to clean up and resurface it. Maybe we'll do some hardness testing of the paint. Maybe we'll see how to practice doing touch-ups in the future. But really, today's video is not focused on that. It's going to be focused purely on waxes and sealants. So behind me, you're going to see all the different waxes and sealants I have on hand today. I actually ran out to AutoZone and picked one up as kind of a joke just to see how it works. Now, there's quite a few different technologies in play with sealants and waxes. In fact, I even have two formulations of the same product that we can compare back to back and see how they perform. For the initial testing, I've created sections on that panel that I cleaned up in the last video that are dedicated to each particular wax. So we'll apply it per the instructions to each panel, we'll let it cure properly, and then we'll begin our testing to see the durability and the performance of that wax or sealant. Before we get started applying these waxes, let's pick each one up. I'll tell you how much it costs, what it does, why I use it, why I bought it, and that way you know what its place is in the test. The most expensive bottle in my collection today is this Wolfgang Concours series Deep Gloss Paint Sealer 3.0. It comes in at just under $40 at $39.99. It's pretty good stuff overall based on my current experience. Now, of course, my experience has been subjective in that I've applied it, I felt like it's lasted a long time, I felt like it did a good job protecting the car, and I think it looked good. However, it's time to do some objective testing and see if the most expensive bottle that I have is really worth it. Now, these guys don't make a specific claim in terms of months, at least not on the bottle. They just say it lasts for months, not weeks, and they use silicon polymers to, use the latest technology to create a perfect surface. Again, I have enjoyed using it, so we'll see how it does. So coming in as the second most expensive is Adam's Paint Sealer. Now, one thing to note about this paint sealer is that it is an 8-ounce bottle. We're going to be comparing everything in pints. I don't think it's fair to have all these different sizes. So what I did for each product is I looked up its biggest container and I broke down the price per pint to see what it really costs. And then they're actually stacked in that order on the table, with the cheapest being at the bottom. So this thing is only an 8-ounce can, so to get an equivalent amount to the other product that we were looking at, 16 ounces or a pint, we would have to multiply it by 2. So ultimately, while this seems cheap, the small bottle actually makes it pretty pricey at $37.38. That's only a hair under the Wolfgang stuff that we looked at, but I have also had good results with this stuff. I've had very impressive longevity with it. So coming in third price-wise is the Jescar Powerlock Plus, which is another paint sealant. This one was recommended by Matt Moorman of Obsessed Garage fame. I really liked how he was using it in a show, and I wanted to try it. I actually bought it through his website, but the pricing today I looked up on Amazon. For 1 pint, this stuff comes in at $33 flat, which is still pretty expensive compared to some of the other products we're going to look at today. Surprisingly, like the Wolfgang stuff, it doesn't make much claims as far as the performance and the longevity. It just says that it's really nice high-tech stuff and it'll give it a nice wet look. It's also a polymer-based sealant. It should be very similar to the Wolfgang. We'll see how it performs back to back. Maybe the $7 savings is worth it and we should use the Jescar instead. This little baby bottle is the Car Pro Reload. Now, this came with my C-Quartz kit. However, you can buy these in 1 liter and half-liter sizes as well as 100 ml sizes. When you take this stuff at a liter size and you bust it down to pints, it comes out at $28.39, which puts it in 4th place as far as cost. Not very cheap, and you do use quite a lot of the product, as it is a spray-on silicon-based kind of sealant. A lot of people use this to add the water beading quality back to their ceramic installation once the nanostructure starts to kind of fade on top of that ceramic coating. I'm going to show these products together. This is the Adams Buttery Wax. Now, the Adams Buttery Wax has been a long staple of people who really like punishing themselves and waxing their car every other car wash. Now, you may have noticed one bottle is much yellower than the other bottle, and this is because there's a new formulation. In fact, I got this bottle 3 months before this one came out. So my experience is based on this bottle. This is a brand new one that just came in my mystery box. So maybe I'm wrong. Let's try this stuff out and see if it's no longer for masochists, but rather for people that actually kind of want some longevity out of their wax. It was always a beautiful wax though, and very easy to use. Price-wise, we're starting to get into the cheaper stuff. This is $18.69 pretty affordable for wax, nearly half the cost of the other more expensive waxes we've been looking at. To be fair to Adams, they do say they expect 4 to 6 weeks of use, which is fair kind of with that car wash cycle that I gave you, and they understand it's not their high durability product. This really is for kind of masochists that enjoy waxing their car all the time. And you guys are out there, you know who you are. All right, so this is kind of the goofy one that I just picked up at AutoZone. This is old turtle wax. Now, this stuff is actually some new formula called the super hard shell. I've never really heard of it. I couldn't really find like a really old school version of turtle wax. I was sort of imagining there'd be like a $2 turtle wax in a can somewhere. But AutoZone, this was the cheapest wax AutoZone sold at $5.99 for a pint. I'm dying to see how it compares to these $30, $40 waxes. Now, the cool thing is this stuff doesn't even say what it's made out of. It just says it's like the latest and greatest, claims 12 months of performance. So at $6, $5.99, that is going to be a lot more performance than that Adams wax. If this stuff is just as easy to put on and lasts 12 months, that's going to be an amazing value. Out of our most hyped category is the P&S bead maker. Now, this thing has been all over the internet lately. It's really blown up. The product's been out for a little bit, but it's just really starting to get hot. And people really like it. People use it as almost a detail spray and as a topper for other waxes. Some people use it on its own. In fact, you can use it on its own. And it's actually also super cheap if you buy a gallon at a time. When you get the stuff a gallon at a time, it's going to come in at $4.87. That is cheaper than the turtle wax. Now, let's be honest though. These kind of sprays, like the Reload and the P&S bead maker, they go a lot faster than a wax. I could use almost an entire bottle on one car. So when we are comparing it to that turtle wax, you might say, why would you even consider it? That turtle wax bottle, if it really lasts 12 months, is a fleet supply for a couple of years. My one suspicion with this bead maker product is that really it's priced like a detail spray. And ultimately, I think we're gonna find its uses more in a topper and detail spray after a wash. If it really adds extra protection, it costs similar money to a detail spray. So I would be willing to use it as a detail spray going forward for freshly washed cars if it really does add something to what's underneath. So guys, as usual, when I do these videos, please keep in mind, I'm not a scientist. I'm gonna do my best to be unbiased and to do a good job for you so that you have good objective information. But ultimately, this is not a lab, it's my garage. As part of the controls in my experiment, we will have a control section that won't have anything applied to it. It'll just be bare, paint-corrected section. That way we can compare it to the others in terms of its performance. Furthermore, I'm going to use a separate applicator for each product that requires an applicator. The other two products are not applicator applied. They're just sprayed on and then wiped off, so we won't need an applicator for those. Now, I will use separate towels and I will be using gloves. My idea is to cross-contaminate as little as possible, and ultimately I just want to see how each product performs on its own without any adulteration. All right guys, I am so psyched to do this, so let's go ahead and get started. Let's start applying these and see how they work. We will be doing each one per the instructions of the product. So guys, another thing to note is unless the instructions call out multiple coats as a requirement of the product, I will not be putting on more than one coat. There's the hood that we're working with. To give you a reminder from the last video of what exactly we did with it, I polished it for a full paint correction as much as I could. You know, I left some of the deeper scratches that would have required either very heavy compounding or wet sanding, but overall the substrate is very smooth, very ready for wax, and I washed it down with isopropyl alcohol. So first thing we're gonna do is let's start with this Wolfgang stuff. Let's give that a shot as the most expensive wax that we have. The instructions are just to shake it up really good, put it on an applicator, put it on, haze, wipe off. It's super simple and it's how I've always done it. Let's give it a shot. So guys, you should see that we've written Wolfgang. There's the price, version 3.0, and this is gonna be its square right here. I'm hoping that permanent marker on the tape doesn't come off. I've always enjoyed using this Wolfgang product. It's always come on very nicely for me. All right. So we're gonna let that haze for a minute. So at this point, I will not be reusing this applicator. I'm actually gonna throw it in my laundry. I will reuse it in the future, but I won't reuse it for this test. All right, number 2, Adams Paint Sealer. This is the second most expensive, just a little cheaper than the Wolfgang. Instructions are very similar. Apply a small amount after shaking, wipe off in a few minutes. While the Wolfgang hazes, we'll apply this one. Again, price, name. You can ignore this little bit right here. We will probably practice on filling gaps in paint. This stuff can also be machined on. It doesn't have to be hand applied, so that's kind of cool. But a lot of stuff can be machined on, to be honest. It smells really good though. So guys, here's the Wolfgang. It did haze over. It's very thin, so that's actually kind of interesting to note compared to the Adams. The Adams haze is much, much darker. But this is how it always hazed, and I've always had trouble with it on very light cars. Like a white car can be really hard to do that stuff on. So I'm gonna take this towel, and I will use 1/4 of it for each panel. I will not contaminate. All right, so here we go. We'll wipe it off with this side of the towel, and then we'll use the next side for the Adams stuff. Feels very smooth. I like how that feels on the towel. All right, guys, the Jescar. Now, this stuff is super new to me. I've only used it a few times. I've liked it so far. It's just half an hour to wait, but otherwise the process is the same. They do say you can add a second layer, but they don't say it's required. They say it's added protection. They are not claiming any specific amount of months, however, for the baseline protection. So here's the panel we're going to use for the Jescar. As you can tell, it's our third most expensive at $33. Let's give this thing a squirt. It's this interesting blue color. Spilled a little. We'll apply a few dabs. This stuff is very transparent, a lot like that Wolfgang stuff. So this stuff's gonna need half an hour. We'll continue on doing other products. Let's take the Adams off. It should be ready now based on the directions. All right, guys, here's the Adams panel, very nicely hazed. I'm gonna use a fresh side of the towel. It hasn't touched that side. Removes pretty easy. Not too bad. I think the Wolfgang stuff removed a little easier. I feel it really biting into the towel, and the Wolfgang stuff felt slicker. Up next is this CarPro Reload. This stuff claims to last 6 months, and it's a spray-on, so you're really using two sides of the towel. You're spraying it on, you're kind of doing one side of the towel to get it on, and then the other side of the towel to get it off. Here's our CarPro panel. It's our fourth most expensive. All right, so that's wiped on, and now we're gonna wipe off. It's supposed to just be that fast. They say just to get all the streaks off. So this is the new formula of the Adams Buttery Wax. I've yet to try this. I have the old formula on hand as well. We'll try them back to back. So let's do this thing. It should be pretty easy. It's just a shake, apply, wipe off in a couple of minutes, just like a lot of these others we tested. Now this stuff is not meant for durability per the manufacturer, but it is meant to be very easy. So let's see how easy it is. And we do want to use a fairly light layer, and this bottle will last a long time. Pretty little yellow. Dab it a few times since we have such a large surface. With the exception of a few of the thicker spots, this stuff is almost transparent, so we'll see how it hazes. They say just a few minutes. All right, so while that Adams dries, we'll apply the old one on the panel next to it, and then we'll kind of compare them back to back and see what the improvement is beyond the yellow or banana color. It is starting to haze a little. And it looks similar, but it's already more visually thicker than the one that's been drying. But I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Okay, it's been a few minutes. Let's go ahead and take the new formula Adams off and see how it feels. Oh, wow, it feels very slippery. That actually feels really, really good. But to be fair, it always felt really, really good. It just didn't last that long. And wow, that is very glossy. Ultimately, this isn't just about durability. It's also about what you prefer looks-wise, feel-wise. You really have to figure out what it is you want from the product. So who is ready for this turtle wax goodness? $5.99, a whole pint of it, and it says 12 months per application. It says apply a light layer, let haze and buff off. Doesn't say how many minutes, but we'll just watch for a haze. I am really, really curious. If this stuff works as well as the expensive stuff, that would be amazing at $5.99. But also, I'm kind of curious how a $5.99 wax performs at all. Like, let's say it's not good. Let's hope we're paying all this money because those products are better. How much better are they? I can't even tell you how excited I am to try it. It's so funny just because, like, I haven't used an off-the-shelf kind of cheapo product like this since probably the first days of me learning to drive. All right, guys, so here's what it looks like. I just applied it. It was very thin. Let's try it on this panel. It applies very easy. I think that's part of being very thin, though. Well, it's pretty transparent, not the most transparent thing we've looked at today. We'll see how it hazes, and we'll give it a shot. All right, we're gonna wipe our old formula atoms up, and man, that feels pretty smooth too. Feels a lot like the new formula, to be honest. All right, now the hype man of our group, of Rennie Doyle fame, this bead maker from P&S. Kind of have some thoughts about the stuff already, just based on my experiences using it. Kind of what I mentioned before, where I feel like maybe its true application is more like a detail spray, but I don't want to get too far ahead of myself until I actually see test results. Who knows, I could be totally wrong in my early assessment of its performance. We'll see how it is in the same environment as all the other stuff. So guys, this stuff works a lot like the Car Pro. You spray it on and then you wipe it off. Now the Car Pro, they had you kind of wipe around with the towel and spread it around. I do that when I use this stuff myself, but because we're following directions today, I'm not gonna do that. I will just wipe it off. I won't spread it around first. All right, we'll shake it up really good, and then we'll just apply. You do need a good amount of this stuff. Like, you're not trying to conserve this stuff. All right, we'll make sure we have a clean half of the towel with no wax on it. And we'll just start wiping the stuff off. Nice and clean, streak-free, that's what you want to see. And this stuff is really curious. Right now, it doesn't feel all that great, maybe just a little slickness. And over about 8 hours of cure time is what they say, it just gets super, super slick. In the meantime, it looks like our turtle wax is ready to be wiped up. And then I think right after it, that Jescar will be ready too. All right, wipe it up pretty easy, I think. Okay guys, it's time to remove the Jescar. It's been half an hour. I don't know, I'm really kind of hopeful this stuff's good. I've enjoyed applying it, and I kind of hope it's nice. I don't know. Sometimes, you know how it is, sometimes you just hope a product is actually good. Oh man, that comes off so easy. I forgot how easy this stuff comes off. We've gotten all these waxes applied to the hood. We avoided all cross-contamination as much as I possibly could. I'm gonna go come up with some tests while this stuff cures. In the meantime, I really love the comments and the likes and the subscriptions, so please keep them coming. It definitely motivates me to make these, and I'll catch you guys again really soon.